Okay.
So, we are in episode 2 of the Top Shelf podcast. I'm the manager, Danny, and I'm with a very special guest, a very good friend of mine from the beginning of college. Please welcome Brian.
I'm gonna clap for myself, like a douche.
I'll clap for you too.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Danny. Howdy do. It's wonderful to be here. It's gonna be a great conversation, I'm sure. We're getting into the witching hours, so I can't wait for the moment that this conversation devolves into just something so grotesque and ugly that it terrifies you and gives you nightmares for days to come.
For those who don't know you, Brian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, I am Brian, known online in some communities as KingBirman or the Birmin. I'm not really doing anything right now, to be honest with you. I hope to be a streamer soon. I'm a writer by trade, so I'm gonna have some stuff coming out. I write screenplays, poems, and stuff like that. So I have some stuff that's already published, and I have a film coming out soon. And yeah, I just graduated from Penn State, so Danny and I are old college buddies. That's weird to say, but
Yeah, it is, right? It hasn't quite
yeah,
sunk in. And that was actually where I was gonna start. It's we're coming in on almost a month since we graduated. I think it was like the beginning of May when everything ended, and we are now, I mean, looking at it, we're on Memorial Day weekend.
hmm
What has this past couple of weeks been like for you since we all left?
Well, to be honest, it honestly has been a little bit of a culture shock. With COVID, you know this, I had to leave campus and was taking classes remotely from my hometown. So I was away from you, and I was away from a lot of my, I was away from my roommates and a lot of my other friends. So I was kind of, doing everything from my home base, but not really able to go out, just like everybody. And this last month has been sort of figuring out what to do now that, it's like the point of no return in terms of like going back to school and seeing my friends, right? So, excuse me, I've been trying to hang out with as many of you guys as I can, and setting up for my stream, trying to find a part-time job, which is weirdly difficult right now, which you wouldn't think it is for a guy who just got their BA, but
Strange times we're living in.
yeah, it's been weirdly busy, so I've had a lot to distract me, which is good, but it has been kind of, it hasn't really sunk in that I'm old. I actually graduated college. You know?
I'm with you. We're in this weird limbo in terms of we're graduated, but at the same time, you can't really tell. Like, are we old now? A lot of people are gonna say
Yeah.
no, but then when you talk to people in school, they're gonna look at us and be like, "Yeah, you're old. You're supposed to have
Y-
a job or something." It's a
yeah.
weird age.
I
But yeah.
think officially when we're 25, that then we will be old. I think before 25, there's still this, we still have this exuberance. Like we could go back to school, we could go to graduate school, or some of us are going to med school or whatever, and we'll kind of be just back in college. We'll still be college students, right? But once you're 25, at least once I'm 25, I hope I've got it together to some extent, and I definitely want to be a full-fledged adult at that point, because as of right now, I still feel kind of like a kid, kind of like a child in some ways.
Yeah, I still kind of feel dependent.
Yeah, not just on my parents either. I just feel weirdly dependent on my friends as well, and just other. I don't feel 100% self-sufficient yet. I know that I can live on my own and I'll be fine, and I know that I can support myself and get a job relatively, with like relative ease. It's just I still kind of desire, I guess, a sort of dependence, like a desire that kinship, and when you're an adult, like I don't want to be one of those lonely adults, you know what I mean? Just
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. It's a weird time, but once we start really sinking our teeth into life, I think it'll take off. Because I know you
yeah.
said you're kind of looking for a part-time job, where I have found myself a full-time job, but this is not where I want to stay. I want to go back to school, so it's just crazy times. But
Yeah.
with that out of the way, thank you for being my guest. It's even though it's been about a month since the first episode of the podcast, it feels like a lot has happened, and when really not much has really happened. I only had one episode,
Yeah.
but
Well, you don't have to thank me because you're paying me, right?
yeah. Oh, not supposed to talk about that.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so diving into our topic, I thought this was going to be great because, you know, with how I've known you and the conversations we've had, I think one thing we really go into some really nitty gritty when we talk about anything, whether it's debates and we disagree with each other, where we're just kicking back on the couch. We'll just have these deep conversations. And I thought, you know what? I want another one of those conversations to be on the podcast. And a great one, especially with the kinds of things we've been talking about, with what I talked about in the last episode. Trends and cancel culture. When you look back at it and you see, like, kind of, at least for me, I think when I think of trends, I go back to like Vine. That's for me, that's where it kind of started. And I'm just like, man, these have come such a long way. Some of these are so great, and some of these are just terrible. And how did these even happen? The influence they have on the culture is incredible.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that really this trends and cancel culture shares historical roots with memes. I think it really all started with memes. So when I was younger, right, I remember my first experiences with the internet. It was, I would go on this old brick of a desktop that we had downstairs that my parents had bought in 1999 or something, only a year after I was born, right? And I would go on CartoonNetwork.com and I would play like the stupid like Ed, Edd n Eddy go-kart games and like the Flash games and stuff like that. And the internet kind of served like, you would get on it with a sole purpose and you would just go do it. You had to write a document and print it out, and so you would do it. Or you wanted to play a game, so you'd go and find a game and play it. But as the internet sort of like followed this natural progression, it became more advanced and used for technical purposes. People found ways to really create an internet community. We're all connected through the internet, and I mean, there are a lot of, like, Elon Musk is trying to capitalize on that and take the big next step, which is literally connecting our brains to the internet, right?
Yep.
But when I think of these trends, I think of the same idea behind memes, which is people created them, sometimes with false pretense, to get a rise out of people, to make people laugh, a lot of the time with good intentions, right? But now I think trends, and really what are cultural memes, are entering this weird space where there's a lot of narcissism laced with every trend. I guess every trend is laced with a lot of narcissism. Now when you see one of these cultural memes, the idea behind it isn't usually, I just want to make people laugh, I think this is funny. It's like trying to touch on a subculture in order to extract followers or extract some clout from that subculture. And you see people jump from subculture to subculture. And that's, I think, what you were talking about with Vine stars and what's happening with TikTok stars and what's happening with YouTubers. You see them now, a lot of them, even OG YouTubers and stuff like Smosh, you see them now trying to capitalize on what are subcultures that are defined often by trends. They have trends that are spurred from that subculture, and these internet personalities very smartly but also often disingenuously are trying to capitalize.
It's interesting the point you brought up here, because as soon as you started diving into, like, going after subcultures and memes, I started to think, like, at first it was being funny and creating like a subculture and it catching on to a larger crowd over time. But now, especially with YouTube stars and how people can just make money off anything, it's almost like trends are coming and going and people are just trying to capitalize on them in terms of profit. It's crazy because I don't think anyone would have ever thought about that if you went back to like the
Yeah.
Vine days, or your 1999 computer just having fun.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't thinking about that when I was playing like Codename Kids Next Door Flash games.
Now,
Mhm.
I like what Sean mentioned here. Try not to laugh videos are irking. Everyone who has any type of popularity makes them. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know what the thing is about that too is that if anybody who has like a big enough following that makes that kind of video, they're trending the next day.
Yeah. I mean, there's some people who I think I don't know if you've seen Jimmy is here.
I've
The
heard the name.
So he's a Twitch streamer and he's a YouTuber. He's like famous for the "It's Wednesday, my dudes."
Right.
That Vine, right? So he actually I think has a decent model for try not to laugh where he's not just like pulling up YouTube videos and watching them. He gets his chat to send him videos and the moderators look through them and make sure they're okay. And he watches them live on stream and there's like some stakes to it because the idea is you laugh, like if he laughs the video ends on YouTube, right? I think
Right.
that's pretty interesting, but when a lot of try not to laughs get into or when you watch a lot of YouTubers watching try not to laughs, it really gets into the reaction territory, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're not doing reaction videos in a very novel way like the Fine Brothers did, or like Flight Reacts does, right? Then you're honestly just ripping other people's videos.
That is what reaction videos are if you think about it. They're people they either have like this insane reaction to whatever they're watching, or they'll watch it, be disappointed, and just start ripping it to shreds.
Yeah, and I mean I see the appeal because if you respect a person on the internet, or even if you just think they're an interesting personality, sometimes you want to see them watch the same thing that you watched before that, or you want to watch it with them and see how, like, you want to see if their reaction is like yours comparatively. You want to see if they're also like in awe or if they're confused by it in the same way that you were. But there's also something very, I feel like it's also stroking your own ego subliminally to make a reaction video is inherently to think to yourself, I believe that my reaction to this video is like content that people should see. Like, I think that it's worth recording.
It's weird when you put it into words, but that is what's happening.
And that's the narcissism, I think, that is like within all these trends and these, like reaction videos, I think, are a trend. I think people already are really getting over them. Like, no, there are far fewer reaction channels on the internet, on YouTube now than there were in, say, 2015 when they were like really booming,
Yeah, I don't think in 2021 I could start a reaction channel and actually make it take off unless there was some sort of something about me that was just different.
Yeah. Like Flight Reacts, his whole model is he'll say something stupid, like he'll like be watching a puppy walk up to its owner and he'll be like, "Is that a dolphin?" Ah! And like that's his thing, and it's like really funny.
Nonsense.
Yeah, it's complete nonsense, and it's funny. And he clearly knows like he's being goofy, right? But if you can't survive. I mean, that's how a lot of these trends are. That's why they're trends. They come in and then they fizzle out eventually. And there's always people who make it work better than others, but a lot of the time it's not sustainable. You see a lot of that, and that's part of the competition too. A lot of people set themselves up making content that is just not sustainable. They don't plan on how to change their content to fit the shifting standards of the internet, and they find themselves clawing to turn their 15 minutes into 20 minutes, into 30 minutes,
I like Frank's point where consistency is the best way to do whichever content you pursue. I think that is that, and kind of what you mentioned, how you need to be something unique. A combination of those two, I think, really takes off in today's society, right? All right, let's shift into cancel culture a bit now, because I think cancel culture in the last 3 or 4 years has erupted. And I really want to talk about this past year because I have a couple of names here of people who have been canceled for good reasons and bad reasons.
Okay.
And actually, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. Do you think cancel culture is good or bad? I feel like I kind of almost answered that, but go ahead.
I think it's good to serve justice. I think in a case where a celebrity is doing something that is criminal or that borderlines on something criminal, right? If you find out that they did that, no matter how long ago they did it, they should be in trouble. They should be in jail, or they should face the criminal justice system, or honestly, people should have a right to not ingest their entertainment, right? For instance, Kevin Spacey, I think what the crimes he's accused of are heinous. The statute of limitations, I think, means he can't get in trouble now, but and for that reason, I think it is justified to say, if you think what he's done is disgusting and you don't want to consume his media anymore, then don't. If you don't want to watch The Usual Suspects anymore, or your House of Cards, right? And if these companies want to take his face off of their brand, they should have every right to. On the other hand, if there are a lot of people, I think, and I don't think anybody has a problem when people get canceled. Like with EDP 445, that guy.
I was just reading that in the chat just now. EDP.
Yeah, Sean just said that in the chat. He definitely deserved it. And that's one guy. I'm not watching any of his content anymore. I immediately unfollowed him on everything because I don't even want to say what he did. But what he did, in my mind, is one of the most despicable things you can do. It was disgusting. And he, not only that, but he continues to, he's acting like nothing happened. He's not even defending himself, or because there is no defense. No. He's just continuing like that. That guy, I think it's valid. And what he did was criminal. I think it's valid to say, this guy did this. Everybody see it now, because he might not go to jail, and choose whether or not you want to listen or watch his stuff anymore. But I don't think anybody has a problem with that. And if you do, you're just probably a criminal yourself. Like, if you're a person who is okay with people doing criminal things, like, you don't think that objectively morally corrupt things are objectively morally corrupt, then I'm not speaking to you when I say this. But a lot of people, I think, are against that kind of stuff, and they're quick to say, I'm not going to engage with this stuff anymore. But I think the problem a lot of people have with cancel culture is that very often, I'm not going to say more often than not, but very often, people and entities and ethnicities, people of certain ethnicities, are being lumped in or are being accused of doing things and they're basically being tried in the public eye before they have to face the criminal justice system. Or they'll do something that doesn't require the justice system's intervention, and they will basically be stripped of the ability to continue pursuing their career. I don't think that's necessarily very fair, especially because when someone makes a mistake and when they get canceled, it seems like the expectation is like you need to somehow tangibly prove to your audience or to the people who canceled you that you're different, which you just can't do. Like, you make a video where you apologize and people will say it's disingenuous, and often I think those videos are disingenuous, because I hope I'm not rambling.
No, you're actually so it's like you're diving into one of the other questions I had, and you started answering it before I even asked, which is great, but I thought I should just ask it right now. Is should people who have been canceled, do they deserve a second chance?
So
now,
I think,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna add to the question, but I think you kind of get what I'm asking already.
No, go ahead. I'll.
Now, we mentioned people. Now, I have a list of some people here. You mentioned EDP. I have people like Ellen DeGeneres, Papa John, Tory Lanez, Lana Del Rey, some people who have gotten canceled for either saying or doing things that are, in my opinion, some of them are kind of unforgivable. And but then there are others who, I can't name some of them off the top of my head, but some people get canceled for something absolutely ridiculous.
Jenna Marbles.
And Jenna Marbles, right? That's one. And you think, do they why are they not getting any way to redeem themselves?
So I've thought about this for a long time, and I think that anybody who's trying to create an online presence has thought about this, or at least I hope they have, because it's important to think about this. The answer I've come up with to the question of do people deserve a second chance might be a cop-out answer, but I think it's the best one. It just depends. It depends on what they did, and it honestly comes down to the individual. If you do something or say something that is put in the public eye, right? As a celebrity, it's kind of a given that you should know that there's a possibility it'll come out, that people will, even if it's far removed, there's always people who just want to see your downfall, who don't like you, and will find what you did and try to take away your ability to have a career or take away your platform. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes there are people who don't deserve a platform. There are other people who do. My problem isn't really with people making that decision for themselves. It's people who make that decision for everybody else, and sort of the perspective that it seems most people have on canceling people. For instance, like I was touching on before, when someone does something wrong, I think it's bad to have this. I think it's very unhealthy. I think it's psychologically damaging to have this expectation that they have to come online and they have to put on this performative apology show for you in order to prove that they're sorry. When something is super far removed from someone, like let's say like James Gunn, for instance, he said some nasty stuff on Twitter a long time ago. James Gunn is the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, by the way.
Yeah, I heard about this.
I was kind of astounded that, like, when you really think about it, none of that stuff would have affected anybody if someone else hadn't dug it up and exposed it to everybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
someone really went digging for that.
Yeah, like, and even if you don't, it's just, if the issue is that people are seeing these problematic things that you're saying and that you have a platform, right? And so these things that you're saying are getting exposure. It seems counterintuitive for someone who is thinking like that, who is thinking this is bad and people don't want to see it because it's offensive, to say, I'm going to show it, I'm going to rehash it out publicly so that everybody can see it, right? Like, I'm going to show people this just to rehash it, no matter how far removed it is. It could be a couple months or a couple years. There are always going to be, like, people, a lot of them are on the right, who are like, cancel culture is bad because I just want to see criminals succeed. Like, I want to see people who say heinous stuff all the time. I just want to see those people succeed, and you're taking away their ability to succeed. There are always going to be those people, and I'm not trying to speak for those people. I think a healthy way to criticize cancel culture is to say there are a lot of people whose lives and whose perspectives on life go much deeper than what they say to you on the internet. And whenever there's something that is simply said or something that is simply done, especially in the heat of the moment, I don't think people should be stripped of their ability to make money because of that. I think that they should, and I don't think that they should have to publicly apologize. I think they should be able to move on. You should expect that they'll become a different person, and if they don't, then you personally choose not to watch their content or to intake their content, and you choose to make them irrelevant personally. But having this personal vendetta against someone who hasn't committed something criminal, just to see them fall, just, I guess, for the competitive nature of the internet, I think is very unhealthy.
And I agree with your standpoint. Now, to wrap up with cancel culture and to get into our lists, I have one last statement here. You may have read this quote. It was said by Donald Glover fairly recently. I think maybe a
I love
month
that
or
guy.
two ago. I don't know, right? Great guy. His quote is, well, I don't have his actual quote here, but he said that cancel culture is creating an onslaught of boring movies and television series. And I thought this
Mhm.
quote was like, you're a writer. I wanted to hear your thoughts on something like this.
100% agree. Um, I I agree with what I think he's saying. I think there's a lot of ways people might read that quote. Like some people might read it as he's trying to like say that just media is generally boring right now. But the way I read which I disagree with, the way I read it is he's saying there's not a lot of media right now that is true art. There's not a lot of there aren't many movies or songs right now that are willing to push boundaries because a lot of artists are afraid of what happens when they cross those boundaries. A lot of the time, with um, the way online culture is right now, um, crossing a boundary means putting your career in jeopardy, means losing your voice entirely. If you say something wrong, you lose your voice entirely. So there are a lot of great movies that are coming out right now, a lot of great material coming out on the internet and stuff like that. In general, like reading material from, there's a lot of reading material on like Instagram. There's a lot of posts on like, like personal websites like Barstool and stuff like that. I think that most of the media that has a lot of eyes on it right now is really just like surface level stuff. And I hope that doesn't sound like I'm saying like I'm one of the true artists. I make art that isn't surface level. Mine is deep and interesting. That's not what I'm trying to say. Like I make a lot of art that is just very like egotistical and overly confident and just like florid beyond belief that just it should never touch someone's ears or eyes. Okay, but a lot of like big names are afraid to push boundaries. They're afraid to, and comedians say this. I think this is largely among comedians, and Donald Glover is a comedian. It's not only that they can't make a joke, it's just that you can't really make a statement at all anymore without people putting a political twist on it, without people making it about something that maybe you hadn't intended it to be. Like now when we talk about terminology and like how people talk to one another, we're allowed today to make a lot of assumptions about what people mean when they say something. And there's almost this, I guess it's fun for a lot of people. I don't know how to describe it, but there's like this desirable aspect to, I guess, trying to psychoanalyze everything someone says. And so people will say with a lot of confidence, like, this term that you say, this phrase that you use, no matter what, it's always going to be offensive. And like, you can't say, I don't know, like, just like, I'm trying
Anything
to think of
you say will be used against you.
Yeah, anything you say can and will be held against you. But I'm just trying to say that we're kind of like locking off, I guess, parts of our language. We're like locking away bits of vernacular that aren't necessarily problematic, but there's just connotations to words and to topics, even like a certain perspective on a topic, and people make assumptions. Like people make it. It's the same way that people like if you say that you have a stance on something, people assume immediately that you are a conservative, or they say
like they'll group your entire they'll group your stance with a bigger
exactly So
greater, yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah, yeah, right. You're I'm not articulating it well, but you're getting me there.
Yeah.
Basically, like Bill Burr and Bo Burnham are good examples. They and Donald Glover. Bill Burr does not like try to affiliate his comedy with politics. Sometimes like people read it as being inherently political because he'll make statements that the nuance, like if you try to like think about the nuance of those statements and like a deeper meaning to them, then they might apply to the current state of politics. Or sometimes he's joking about politicians or joking about how people on the left or people on the right see things, right? But in the end, his intention is for it to just be like, haha, let's laugh at ourselves, let's laugh at everybody. You know, I'm not trying to galvanize my jokes to like take down an entire political movement.
Okay, so going back to the Donald Glover statement, the first thing I thought of was when I read that was the movie White Chicks, because that's one of my favorite movies of all time. And when I thought of what he's saying here about cancel culture, that a movie like that could not exist in today's society. It would get canceled so quickly. Same with shows like The Boondocks. And I always hear things like how what is it? There are reports that like that show will try to come back on TV, which I don't think will. If it were, it would be a shell of what it once was.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way they would be able to have that same humor. They were homophobic in that show. The way they would make fun of other, like they would make fun of the black community in it in a way that I don't think you can do anymore. That stuff, like, yes, I agree, like some of it is wrong, but I think that boundary of creativity will no longer be able to be achieved.
I mean, yeah, I think to some extent why stuff is boring now is just because it's not only that people are taking away some of the offensive stuff, which by the way, I think the point of comedy when you're joking, when you're making like an offensive joke, I think that a lot of the smart comedians like Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle and Donald Glover, they hope that the audience understands that they're lampooning that train of thought. They're making fun of people who think like that. They're not necessarily espousing those views. If they make a joke about, you know, like they say something like all rednecks get with their cousins, right? They're not like espousing that view. They're lampooning the idea that that would be true. They're using the fact that it's a stereotype and that it's like a ridiculous idea, right, to try and make you laugh.
Right.
And not only are films taking that aspect of comedy away, but they're also trying to inject like political correctness or social justice into their films that don't necessarily need it. And it's really disingenuous, and I think it turns people off like immediately. Like even if you have a great film, there's a lot of people who will just watch a film and they're like, they can tell that the thought process for whoever was making it, for the studio, was like, what's socially relevant right now? Oh, Black Lives Matter, civil rights. So let's make a movie that like doesn't have to do with that, but let's just inject those themes into it, right? Like if you make a movie that's about the current moment and that's about those movements, right? That's great. If you're like, you know, you want to get in touch with some aspects of American culture or Black culture, and you want to expose that to the world and like, you know, share different sides of things. I don't know but when it's the same with like how offensive those McDonald's commercials back in the day were, that were just like, you know, like catering to Black people, and it was like an R&B song was playing in the background, and they'd go in and order the McNuggets, right? Like the only like fried chicken thing on the menu, right? It's like that's offensive, and we all know it's offensive, but these bigwigs, that's more offensive to me than someone outright being like bigoted, because when someone's bigoted like that, you can just easily dismiss them. You can say, oh, grow up, get a life. I'm not even going to talk to you because I don't want to think like that, and I think that you're stupid. But when they make a commercial like that or a movie like that, that like makes all these assumptions and feeds in all these stereotypes, I find it offensive, and I also find it like insulting to my intelligence.
Sean, to answer your statement, the white chicks could exist because it makes fun of white people. I think someone could try to make a movie like this again, but I don't think it'll resonate the way this movie did, because I'm pretty sure there was a scene where they like justified saying the N-word in the car when they were singing a song. Like stuff like that would just not fly anymore.
I mean,
and it was hilarious, but it just won't work.
A film, dude, I am incredibly surprised. Have you seen Tropic Thunder?
I have not.
In that film, oh my gosh, Danny, in that film, Robert Downey Jr. literally does blackface. Like, the premise of his character is that he's playing an actor so into his role that he gets a pigment augmentation surgery, and so the entire film is other people in the cast, but Robert Downey Jr. as a main member of the cast, and he's putting on like a black accent, and he's playing this like black colonel from the Vietnam War. Yeah, and I am so surprised that like today, if that film was made, oh my god, how quickly he'd get canceled. But like Robert Downey Jr. is loved, right? But that would get canceled. So just the idea would like get that film shut down before it even came out. And what I find crazy about that character is, and I'm not making a statement about whether or not I think it's okay that occurred in that movie, right? But I'm just saying, like, Jamie Foxx, I think it was Jamie Foxx, defended Robert Downey Jr. doing that. And I was just like, dude, that is insane.
Crazy.
Like, it was crazy for me to see Jamie Foxx, who like is, in my opinion, like notably in very influential films about strong like black leads, and for him to like to say, in essence, Robert Downey Jr. doing blackface in that movie was like okay. That's my interpretation of what he said. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm getting that right, but oh yeah, and Sean just brought up the line that's never go full R word. Robert Downey Jr. in blackface says that line in the film. Like, that film would not fly today, dude. But it's available on like Netflix and stuff right now.
It's on Netflix?
On job. on job, my guy. It is on, or it's on Amazon Prime or something. I literally was rewatching it like a few days ago. I was rewatching a few days ago, and I was going through these scenes, and I was like, oh my god, this is incredibly offensive by today's standard. I mean, there's gun violence, there's whiteface in that film. There's also Ben Stiller dresses up and plays a person with an intellectual disability, and like the way that he plays it is like, it's I can't even just it's just so awful. He's like slurring his speech and like talking like that, you know what I mean? It's so incredibly offensive, and the movie is just, I don't know.
Now let's shift into the lists. Now I know you're probably not prepared for this, so I'll go first. But it's our top 5 but trends that you really you could like them. They could be your favorite trends, or they could be trends that you just appreciated for their impact, or for whatever reason you thought it was funny or it was dumb. You hated it that much, you know. So I guess I'll go first if you're not ready. For mine, I started with number 5. I put the dab, because when that came out and people started dabbing everywhere, I thought, first of all, I thought it was ridiculous, but then more and more people started doing it, and then I started seeing athletes do it, and then I did it at my sister's wedding. So, you know, it caught on, and I thought it was pretty cool. And then it became really cringe, and I don't know how it became cringe, but somewhere along the line it became kind of bad. Yeah, maybe it was Fortnite that did it. Maybe Fortnite ruined it. I don't know. But that's my number 5. Number 4, I wrote the Let's Play era of YouTube. Because I would say that was probably the late 2000s and the early 2010s.
I might have to disagree with you on this one if I'm allowed to.
Go ahead. Yeah. Why? I mean,
Well, I'll
why do you
let you,
disagree?
I'll let you say why you dislike it first. I'm not trying
Oh,
to.
I don't. I didn't say I dislike it. I said
Oh,
I like it. I do
oh,
like
it's
it.
one of your favorite trends. Oh,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
I was confused. So dabbing is one of your favorite trends. Then it's your
Yeah.
favorite.
I thought Dab was pretty cool for the time that it was around. The
Okay,
Let's
all
Play
right.
era, that was pretty cool too. Because I saw
Yeah.
some of my favorite YouTubers that I'm still subscribed to today. They may not make videos anymore, but you know, they
Can I
have
name
some
some?
great Let's Play. Absolutely.
So, like, did you watch Sea Nanners?
No, I did not. But Frank just mentioned the Rad Brad. That is one I did watch.
Oh, Rad Brad is so dope. That guy, man, that guy was a gem. I remember watching him play Dead Island 2, and I was playing along with him, dude. There's something about like playing video games with someone else, like while someone else does it. You know what I mean? Like watching them play while you play. That's just kind of like, I don't know. I always thought that was dope.
It was just fun watching somebody else enjoy a game that you played. I
Yeah.
know Rad Brad. The reason why I even found him in the first place was because he ended up making videos on Tekken, which is my favorite fighting game. And I was like, what in the world? And then once I started watching his videos and I found out like he's like a loyalist to that game, I was like, that's sick. And then I watched his other playthroughs and I thought his commentary voice was great. I think Markiplier did Let's Plays like way back. And I thought his commentary was excellent. He's got that distinct voice. And when I was, 11 years old, watching PewDiePie was pretty fun, especially when he played horror games. So that was pretty big for me. Number 3, I don't know if this is necessarily a trend. I feel like this kind of disappeared, and I'm upset about this. But male music artists who can dance, they're not as popular as they used to be. And I really appreciated a male artist that could dance, because now it seems like only female artists do it now. And
Damn, Danny.
the few that can, they're just they're really not many of them. If they are, they might be like international. I think BTS can dance, or like Chris Brown.
I love the thought of you sitting in your room, just like religiously watching NSYNC, studying their moves.
Hey, that was a phase of mine. I'm dead serious. If you talked to me
Hey.
about 2 years ago, I used to actually watch music videos where the artist could dance really well, because I thought that
Oh.
was so cool. Now, for my number 2, this is a very interesting trend because this only applies to women, and I thought it was. I loved it when girls were doing it. Do you remember that time? I would say this must have been 3 or 4 years ago, when girls would just dye their hair platinum. Did you ever see that? I don't know why that disappeared as quickly as it came, but I thought that was really cool. And
Mhm.
it's a shame that it disappeared so quickly. I'm pretty sure like Kim K did it, and then everyone started doing it, and then she stopped, and everyone stopped.
Yeah.
But that short period where girls were dyeing their hair platinum or having like platinum highlights or something, I thought that was sick. And then I did not have any honorable mentions, probably because I just could not think of any because there's so many trends out there. But for my top shelf, it was actually a viral video. Have you ever seen the Bed Intruder video?
Are you talking about the ones like hide your kids, hide your wife?
Yes,
hide your
yes,
husband?
that
Yes,
one,
I've seen
exactly.
that.
Yes.
I've seen that.
He left his fingerprints all up in there. You are dumb. You are really
Yeah.
dumb.
You
for
are
real.
so dumb.
That one, I think that video is great. I can watch that years later and still crack up at it. And I think when that video went viral, there was just a culture shift in attitude. More
Yeah.
people just decided to start being ridiculous when they're on TV, or when they start getting attention and they start doing ridiculousness like this. And I think the impact and the actual video itself are just incredible. That makes my top shelf for the trends. I can give you a minute. I guess while you're still going at it, I could mention one thing here. I did put a little bonus question for this week, which was one idea or trend or anything that you wish just was canceled. So something you wish was canceled, either someone or something. And if you want, you can answer this if you can think of one right away. But for me, I had said that one thing I wish was canceled are South Asian stereotypes. And I'm saying not the ones that like the West puts on them. I'm saying the culture, the cultural norms, because
Mhm.
I'm Pakistani, and there's a lot of ridiculous like standards that you have to meet when you're growing up in a family that is South Asian. I would say. I think
Yeah.
this also applies to Middle Eastern families where you have to marry somebody who is of the same culture and the same faith. You have to follow religion. You cannot like if religion's not part of who you are, you're basically going to get shunned. And you have to be a certain you have to get like into a certain line of work, and you won't be accepted if you start doing something that like your parents don't agree with. There's a lot of different things, right?
Mhm.
And those to me, I guess it's because I'm born and raised in America that I don't agree with those kind of ideas. Like you should be able to do whatever you want, like whoever you want, follow whatever you truly believe in, whatever your values are, as long as they're good, as long as they're good values.
Preach,
Um,
brother.
so yeah, that's the one thing that I would really like. I don't know why this is not canceled, or that people are just not against this. Maybe they are, but they're not vocal about it. But I guess I'll be someone who is vocal about it. I think it's very toxic, and I don't agree with it, and I wish it were canceled.
Mm. All right. So I'm gonna start with stuff that I don't like. I'm gonna start
Go ahead. Go ahead.
at the bottom shelf. Okay. So I think I'm gonna start at the least egregious to the most egregious. Okay. The least egregious is, and this is a hot take. I know that people don't like it when I say this, but I gotta say it. I don't really like it when artists die, like when like people like Juice World and Mac Miller and Kurt Cobain pass away, and people jump on their music, and the labels keep releasing their music, like
Oh,
acting
posthumous
like
releases.
it's new. Yeah, like as if it's gonna change anything. Like I personally, whether you're a religious person or you're secular or whatever walk of life you come from, when we're here on Earth and like Mac Miller dies, I never heard anybody talking about how influential Mac Miller was and how he changed their life until after he died. And it's like something just this is why I don't think it's so egregious, because I think it's totally justified to feel bad when like a favorite artist of yours passes away, or when an actor who really influenced you passes away or something like that. It's totally valid. You can have connections to people who are like celebrities who you haven't met in person that are really close to you, and they've affected you in very real ways. But it rubs me the wrong way to see when an artist never really was popping off when they were alive, and then you just throw a bunch of awards at them that maybe they wouldn't have got if they didn't die young. You know what I mean? It almost
Yeah.
is like, it's almost like,
You wouldn't have given it to them if they were alive.
yeah, and even if you would have, you just should have. Like I don't know. I don't know how to describe what I'm trying to say, but it's almost like condescending.
It is.
Me.
It is.
It's
And-
like they're dead, so let's just like make a big deal about it. And the way I see it playing out often in my mind is like the families don't really stand to benefit the most when posthumous music is released and stuff like that. Honestly, who I see benefiting the most are the labels and the other artists who collab on those songs, because a lot of the songs that are released posthumously are like not completed. It's not music that maybe
right. They
like,
didn't. They didn't want to release it. This is not finished.
right. Even if they had intended on releasing it or whatever, it's just, if you don't know that they wanted it released, or if you don't know how they would have wanted it released, right? Don't try to make something that doesn't necessarily speak for them just because it has their voice on. Like, it's like if Van Gogh painted a painting and he ripped off a corner, and then the people who owned the rights to his art, like the Louvre, hired a bunch of artists to finish his painting. It's like, yeah, it's dope, it's cool, and it's like kind of cool to see this person's art, like a rendition of it now, but it just does not have the same effect, and it doesn't, for me, represent the person that I knew. It just, okay, so I spent a lot of time on that one, though. Let me move to the next one. The next least egregious thing, I think, is speed runs. I just hate speed runs.
Really? That's a bit of a hot take.
Even hotter than the other one, because I know that, like,
well, the posthumous releases, I can agree. I think it is kind of condescending, and it's just a cash grab from record labels, especially with the way they treated Pop Smoke or XXXTentacion, or even now with DMX, it's weird. But
yeah,
speed runs, some of them are actually pretty exciting to watch.
I don't know, man. It's just like I can't sit through them. I can't.
You can't sit through a speed run. Oh, man.
Yeah, and the point of it is to be fast, right? Like it's to be able to sit through it because they're fast. But like, I just don't see the utility in it. Like, I'll sit there, and there's usually, for me, like, no entertainment value. I don't value the commentary. I don't value being able to play a game quickly, especially because, like, if you're a streamer, you don't play games necessarily to do it quickly. At least I wouldn't. I'm gonna play games to have fun and to enjoy them with other people, right? So, like, for me, it's like you're just stripping down what the gaming experience is supposed to be and making it like, yeah, it's competitive. I think it'd be really cool to see a bunch of guys sit in a room and just clack away at their keyboards like maniacs trying to beat each other at it. But like, when it's one guy just like, look at how fast I can do this, it doesn't really excite me.
I think the one thing about speedruns is kind of like what Sean is mentioning in the chat. Some of these guys, they have so much game knowledge and they're so good at playing the game that they're able to find these insane shortcuts or ways to just like cut corners in the game and finish it quickly. That's exciting to watch. And I've seen people do it in games where like they realize that, oh, rather than going back to the home base of the game and then doing the next mission, they'll just kill themselves and they'll spawn right back in the home base and just be able to progress the game faster. Or they know doing a certain thing with the boss, like, that is so cool because they have the knowledge and they know that they need to do this. That is sick.
It's kind of cool, but like, think about it, dude. They have no other marketable skill. I'm glad that, well, maybe they do.
Wow.
But they're not showing it.
Oh,
like,
no.
Listen, I'm glad that people like you and Sean watch them because I think they deserve an audience. I'm glad they're making their cheddar, but also like, bro, you play one game or like a couple games super fast. Like, all right, awesome. Sorry, I just can't watch it. It's boring to me, no matter how quickly you do it.
That is a very hot take. Keep going.
Okay, another thing that's been annoying me. Okay, now we're getting to like the third most egregious, and for me, I would say the cinnamon challenge. And like challenges like that where people would like pour lemons in their eyes and stuff. Man, that stuff is so brain dead. It takes no talent.
Yeah, okay, that I can agree with you. We're on the same page. That is ridiculous.
It takes like zero effort. And I think like it hurts. I mean, yeah, it hurts, but like no one's gonna watch me, whip myself with a belt, for a YouTube short, because it's like, it's just awkward. You're watching me hurt myself. That's exactly what you're doing when someone's pouring lemons in their eyes, except they like try to spice it up by condescending you and making you feel stupid. Like, they're like, guys, I'm gonna put lemons in my eyes. Watch me put lemons in my eyes. Here, I got the lemon right here, and I'm gonna squeeze it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, when it's a challenge, like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, that's for a good cause, then I'm like, all right, dude, that's solid, because your purpose is to just gain awareness for a good thing. Like, you're trying to get people to donate to a charity so that people less advantaged than you can get some help, right? Well,
you're spreading awareness,
right? But when it's just doing a cinnamon challenge egregiously, like if it's for fun, if it's just for fun and it's you and a friend doing it, you don't have to post it. And so for me, it's like it's content that's not worth posting. And then if you're doing it for content, like for just like specifically just to like put up like an Instagram video or something, I see that as like really like weirdly selfish. Like again, it's
Doing anything
like,
for attention.
yeah, it's like you're just doing it for like the cause with the cinnamon challenge is just like you. Like you are the cause.
Was there actually a cause for the cinnamon challenge? I don't know.
I don't know. If there was one in the beginning, it got muddled down very quickly. Oh my gosh. I just remembered a trend that falls in this. There was a trend that was like the ugly challenge or something. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was on it was either on TikTok in its very early stages, or it was on YouTube in its later stages. And all it was, it was so stupid. All it was people who thought they were hot would paint freckles, like big black freckles and moles on their face, and like use mascara to connect their eyebrows and like black out their teeth, and they'd like make themselves look stereotypically ugly. And then when the beat dropped on whatever song they were playing, they would cover the camera and uncover it, and then they'd like look all dolled up and sexy. And to me, that's like, dude, that is, first of all, it's stupid. It's literally you sitting there being like, the premise of the video is, I'm hot. Look at how much I can cover up how hot I am, and then look at how hot I am. Right? Like, that's the entire idea. And on top of that, it was just, at one point, dude, that was just all over the internet. I mean, it was like all that you'd see. Like, I don't know. That kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I think that one's not a fan of that one.
So the second worst thing that really annoys me is this isn't necessarily a trend itself, but like I'm seeing a trend towards this type of content, okay, which is like, I really dislike content that purposefully tries to manipulate the audience into thinking it's real when it's not real.
Like they
go ahead.
No, are you referring to clickbait?
No, well, clickbait, yes, it's part of it, but really what annoys me is like when the content itself, okay, there's this guy named Lance something, he's on every social media page. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. I think he got in trouble because he ran out on a baseball field during a game. Yeah, he was on Vine.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Okay, he makes content with his grandmother and with people in his family, and every video is the same exact premise. Okay, let me break it down for you. This guy will like say something to the camera like, "Oh, I put fake poop on my grandma's chair and I'm gonna make her sit on it," right? And he'll go and put the fake poop on the chair, and his grandma will come down at the perfect moment, like when he's filming, and she'll sit down in the chair, and he'll like bring her attention to it, like, "Grandma, you know you're sitting on fake poop, right?" And she'll stand up and look at the chair and the smeared poop, and she'll go, "Ah, Lance!" And she'll just like yell. What that content does is, but it's presented as though it's real, right? It's presented as though it's genuine. Like the reaction is genuine. It's not staged. Nobody knows what they're doing in the video. And that type of content, I think, is honestly very bad for people who want to make a living on YouTube and as Twitch streamers. That's the kind of, it's like purely economical. It's purely, I know what the algorithm is like on Instagram and like how to get things popular. So I'm going to make the most brain dead stuff I possibly can, knowing that it'll get popular just because of the way that I market it. Which is like, good on you. You figured out the system, right? But when you have nothing of substance to share, or, you know, because even if it's fake, you can not try so hard to make it seem fake. Like people, I think today are very willing to see something and go, "Oh, it's fake," but I still think it's pretty dope that they set this up. But when you make content like that, that is so clearly fake. Like, and all of those Vine stars really
Yeah, there's a lot of staged videos and stuff they post. It looks real, but
it's just when they insult my intelligence that really gets me mad. It's like, I don't think I'm a genius or anything, but I'm definitely smart enough to know that this is fake. And like, it doesn't add anything. Like it serves no purpose. It's not even like entertaining to me. So the worst thing,
top shelf. What do we got on the top shelf? What's the worst thing?
One of the worst things I think on the internet is people posting gender reveal parties. Gender reveal parties literally burned down California. I don't even have to say anything else. I mean, what else is there to... Gender reveal parties literally burned down California. Like, no, but...
I think that speaks in itself.
I also just think it's like, listen, man, I don't get it, because think about it, dude. When you have a baby, you probably just recently got married, okay? You probably are already having people fawn over you because you're having a baby, or at least you should. Am I right, pregnant queens out there? You should have people fawning over you, your husband waiting on you hand and foot or whatever. So, like, you're probably already having a good time besides all the stuff that, you know, the bad stuff that pregnancy does to your body. I just don't see reason to celebrate the gender of your baby. It's like, what's so spectacular about it? My baby developed its chromosomes in this way. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem... You can have a baby shower because it's awesome that you're gonna have a baby at all. That's like people talk about it all the time. It's the miracle of life. It's like awesome. You're, you know, and you're taking on this huge burden, right? But like, it just seems really self-serving and like a weird reason to get people together to celebrate. And I'm also just not into celebrations of any type when they like I thought it was really cringe when people were like doing celebrations, like drive-by celebrations, like not even getting out of their car.
Oh yeah, those are weird.
Like, if that's the type of celebration you're gonna have, honestly, I mean, I'm not gonna fault you because you got to do what you got to do to like celebrate your kids graduating high school and college or whatever. If you know, you, like, show your support how you can. But like, for me, if that's the type of celebration I'm gonna get for college, my college graduation, I don't want it at all. Let's just go out to dinner. Let me just hang out with you because I appreciate you, my family, and my friends. You know what I mean? Like, that's worth more to me. But yeah, no, gender reveal parties literally burned down California.
Yeah, gender reveal parties are one of those like excuses to get people together.
Mm-hmm.
What bothers me more about gender reveal parties are the way the actual party is, because like you mentioned, it burned down California. Like,
Yeah,
it's not your average like get together. You know, some older families, you know, they'll have drinks and kids will hang out. It's like, no, they gotta do something weird and over exaggerate and, you know, have some weird powder or some way to reveal their kid.
dude, it is
and have
so
a video.
it is so cringy trying to watch these like 35-year-old men like try to hit a baseball and full of powder and they just can't. Like, it is so frustrating for me to watch those videos. But that's not the only reason why I dislike it, because there are a lot of people who have gender reveal parties who don't burn down California. I assume. I mean, I don't know. Maybe all of them are just burning down California, but like, it's also just it's just my personal preference. Like, I don't want to celebrate things that I don't think are like worth celebration. I don't want to waste the time and the money and the and other
Just
people's
like get
time
together the way you would get together with friends. It doesn't need to have a occasion like that.
I mean, for me personally, like, the gender of your baby is just a technicality, or the sex of your baby. It's just a technicality. It's like, I'll be with, like, if I'm with my wife and they're like, it's a boy or it's a girl, it's just weird for me to like to have a celebration about, to like make such a big fuss. Because I don't know, if I have a kid someday, it won't, I don't think it should matter to me, and like, it won't matter to me. I'll just be happy to have a kid, you know. I get that there are other experiences, like, you know, like maybe a dad wants to have a boy because he knows what it's like to be a boy, right? Like, I get that, but that's something I feel like that should just be to yourself. And I would think that it would make my wife or whoever I was having a kid with really uncomfortable for me to like, if she's a woman, right? If I'm dating a woman and I go like, yes, it's a boy, it's a boy. The inherent argument is like, if it was a girl, I probably wouldn't be this height, you know?
Right. Yeah. It's such a weird thing. It's like I want one, and then you don't get that, and it's like, yeah. I agree. I think gender
Alright.
reveal parties are also very whack. Now, if there is something that you would want canceled, what would it be?
All right, so the person who I definitely think should be canceled is Keemstar. I don't have like a personal problem. I don't know the guy personally, but I've been exposed to his content for a long time, like since he started making content, and I just like gender reveal parties, I see no utility in it. Philip
He's
DeFranco.
YouTube drama, isn't he?
Yeah, Philip DeFranco was, I think, one, or Ray William Johnson, honestly, was like the baby Keemstar. Okay, so like back in the day, those guys would do YouTube drama. Philip DeFranco more professionally, I think. He would just kind of deliver it, but not deliver like very staunch opinions about it, right? But Ray William Johnson would like just slam dunk on everybody. Didn't matter who you were. Didn't matter what the topic was. But Keemstar, I think, isn't even delivering like news. Like when he talks about things, it's stuff that isn't really breaking, but he pretends that it's breaking news. And every time I see him have a segment with somebody, he's just like tearing them down. Like he reminds me of, everybody has that friend in college who like whenever you meet them, their way of being like of buddying up to you and like being I guess like socializing is just like roasting you and like making fun of you. And I just feel like his brand of comedy is just that. And he just strikes me as like really nasty, and I don't know, man. He kind of just annoys me. It annoys me that
he's just causing problems.
It's not even, honestly, dude, he doesn't even annoy me because like he's a person, do what you do. It just annoys me that so many people watch him, like that he's so relevant. You know, like I just don't, it kind of upsets me that so many people find what he does to be of some sort of value, when I see it as just like vitriolic, hurtful a lot of the time. And he goes out of his way to just, when he doesn't like somebody, it doesn't even matter if that person he doesn't like is like a good person outside of him just liking them. His goal is to ruin them. That just upsets me. You know what I mean?
Well, that wraps up our list.
Woo!
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast with me. I think we covered a lot. We covered a lot. Almost, yeah. We dove into the real cancels. So thank you for coming on with me. Is there anything you want to shout out? Any last comments you want to make? Anything?
For everybody listening right now, we have a lobby of guys in the Discord who are listening to the podcast live, and every single one of them, including Danny, dislikes Last of Us 2. And this might be the hottest take of the entire night. I think The Last of Us 2 is one of the best games ever made. And I will stand by that till the day I die. I love that game. I think it's frustrating. I think
Boo this man.
I think they're spamming the chat right now. Go ahead, keep spamming it. I dare you. Because I think the only reason people don't like The Last of Us 2 is because they're put off by its politics, and it frustrates their little baby minds that things don't work out in real life the way they should. Okay, the way they think they should. Yes, The Last of Us 2 is frustrating, but that's because it's realistic. It's as realistic as it should be. It's perfectly realistic. You know, in a world where there's like weird fungus zombies, it's realistic because plots don't always end up perfectly resolving themselves. And The Last of Us 2 is a great example of that. A story that does not resolve itself, but instead requires self-resolution, requires you to reconcile what happens in the game for yourself as the audience. And I think in terms of the environment, You cannot get much better than what the artist put into that game. You can't get much better than the mechanics in that game. You can do so much stuff. You know, the dialogue, the voice work. I mean, bro, the voice acting is just superb. That being said, Abby is probably like the worst video game character of all time. But the game itself, chef, you can't see me, but this sound is for me giving the game an Italian chef kiss. You can take that to the bank, chat.
Well, you got to get that off your chest.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to profess it to the world, and I'm glad. Thank you so much for platforming me, Danny. Ironically, this podcast is about cancel culture, and I'm almost definitely gonna get canceled after saying that. So,
oh yeah. Prepare for trouble, make it double. But yeah, thank you for hopping on here. I think this was great, and looking forward to running episode 3. Hopefully, I will get that out sooner than a month, because it took way too long to get this one done.
Yeah, man.
But
hey, good luck to you. Thanks for having me on. It's been really nice just chatting with you, and yeah, man, it's been great. Fun. I like podcasts. It'll be interesting to because I listen to a lot of them. It would be really interesting to hear myself on a podcast.
But yeah, thanks for hopping on.